Hello, guys. Welcome to a new session of questions and answers. My name is Vincenzo Toscano. I'm the CEO of Ecomsi, and today we're going to be running a session as notified through my social media channels around answering questions from the community and just discussing some topics around some concerns people have around some specific topics, specifically selling on Amazon, of course. So I'm gonna be giving a few extra seconds. I think most people is getting connected now, and we're gonna get started with the some of the questions I have gathered for today's session. Remember to like and subscribe. We usually are dropping around 2 episodes per week on our YouTube channel, and we're bringing guests from different industries and different expertise around the Amazon space, and also we're starting to bring guests to speak in English and Spanish, both languages. The same as the sessions we've been running, which are going to be running into sessions to cover the two different languages. So just to remind you, on Tuesdays it's going to be at 4 p.m. UK time, and then you're going to be having Thursdays for Spanish speaking audience at 4 p.m. UK time as well. Okay, good. So I'm gonna be start rolling some of the questions for today's session. Let's see which questions we have here today. Good. Let's get started with this first question for today. So today's question is about external traffic. So basically, this person was asking how important is external traffic to Amazon. Well, as you might know already, I actually mentioned this on previous sessions. Bringing traffic to Amazon is very essential nowadays, specifically when you need to launch a product and you need to help with the initial sales and ranking positioning on each on the keywords that you want to basically sell your product, specifically on page one, right? So usually what we do for our clients when we want to bring external traffic is that we try to basically try to get in contact with people around your space. So for example, we had a client that he was selling a products around the pet space. And basically what it is that we reach out to influencers that were basically reviewing like products around pets. Specifically, like in YouTube, for example, most people nowadays, before they go to purchase a product, what they do is they go to YouTube and they try to basically look for a unboxing around specific product or reviews of what are the top 10 toys for dogs, right? So what we did is we got in contact with these influencers and basically incentivized to push the product towards the audience. And what we did is also give them a discount, right? So what we did is we say to this influencer to promote the product on their videos and put the links on the description, and also to mention to look for the specific brand on Amazon. So after doing this, we did this with around, for this specific product, with 6-7 influencers. And once we did that, I mean, the results were very good, because you need to understand that Amazon actually loves external traffic. So as soon as you start bringing traffic from outside of Amazon, usually we have seen a huge increase on everything that has to do with organic ranking, and that's usually what is going to end up positioning your product on page one, which for all of you, you already know that that's the main end goal for a product. Based on a statistic, 70 to 80% of all the sales happen on page one. So if you're not on page one, you're basically missing on most of the sales. So when it comes to external traffic, yeah, we usually combine it with influencer marketing. We also are doing lately blogging, so we're getting in contact with blogs with around a specific industry or type of products, and then we're bringing that kind of traffic from also blogs. And the third type of traffic that we also do from external sources is email marketing. So this one, of course, is gonna depend more on where your how big is your audience, right? Because you're gonna find yourself that if you're getting started with a brand, most likely you don't have an existing audience. Therefore, email marketing might not work for you. But if you do, that's a big plus that most brands don't have, because you can then use that email marketing campaign to launch new products or push promotions for things such as Prime Day, or let's say if your product is for Halloween, you can do seasonal campaigns and things like that. So overall, how you usually do external traffic, and nowadays is with blogging, influencer marketing, email marketing, and then of course if you have bigger resources, which we have worked with some of the brands that have done that, is you can do things such as, for example, positioning your products on certain magazines or newsletters that usually end up being more expensive, but that's also a route some brands decide to take when they want to scale their brand on Amazon. Okay. Good question. But yeah, the importance is huge nowadays. Whenever Amazon sees that you bring traffic from outside of Amazon, that brings a huge boost in organic ranking, which after all is what is going to help you with your sales. Good. Okay, we got another question. Do you think the low conversion rate affects the organic ranking? Yes. This is actually a thing that we see a lot nowadays. In fact, we discussed this, I think, on one of my last episodes with Gabriel, which he's an expert around the PPC, and we were talking that a conversion rate can actually end up having a huge negative impact in your organic ranking, because what happens is that if you, let's say you have unlimited budget, right, and you start running campaigns over and over again, what is going to end up happening is that if you bring a lot of clicks and impressions to your specific pro listings, but for whatever reason that traffic is not converting to a sale, what is going to happen is that is going to start giving negative attributions to your listing. And if your listing start attributing a lot of these negative, basically conversion metrics, it's going to affect your organic ranking, and it's also going to affect your performance toward PPC campaigns. We all know that usually on PPC campaigns, you might find that over time, one keyword might perform very well and then it start underperforming. And sometimes one of the factors might be that because you are spending a lot of resources towards that keyword, but your traffic was not converting, therefore your conversion rate started to decrease. And usually we see that as an impact in your campaigns, which most of the time end up being a decrease in impressions, therefore a decrease in clicks, which end up affecting your sales, which at the end of the day, if your conversions were bad, your sales were bad anyway. But again, it gets worse as your conversion rates basically becomes worse. Now, things that you can do to improve this, very simple changes. One of them, of course, is making change of your images. This is one of the first thing we do here when working with people. I have seen a lot of times images that are very poorly made. You're not emphasizing the features, the qualities of the product, basically making the product stand out from the crowd. I mean, even myself as a customer, when I shop on Amazon, right, you're gonna see a lot that basically most of the time the listings that we click on are the listings that give you that catchy feeling, right? That is like new, like very good shadows, a very good presentation. So I think having the images clean is number one factor. Then after that, of course, is the copy of the listing. If your listing is not well optimized in terms of copy, the keywords, and the presentation itself of the product in terms of the copywriting, it's going to have two negative effects. The first one is people that really read your listing and want to learn more about the product. As soon as they realize the copy is not there, that's going to put them off from purchasing your product. Second of all, if your listing is not fully optimized, we have seen also a huge impact in the organic positioning, because if you don't have the right keywords and phrases well positioned in your title, bullet points, description, search terms, and the back end of the listing, usually that's going to end up negatively impacting your product. So in conclusion, yes, conversion rate is huge. Try to always bring good traffic to your listing, because if then your conversion rates start to decrease, that usually becomes like a snowball effect on your listings. Okay, So yeah, good question. Thank you for asking. Good. Let's see which other question we got here. Okay, we got a new question. Do you use any software to request reviews? Um, with the last changes that Amazon made, you can't really, of course, incentivize people anymore to leave any reviews. I'm pretty sure that you have seen when purchasing on Amazon, people put it on insert cards, like things such as "I give you 20% off." If you go on Amazon, send me a screenshot for a review or things like that. Those things are not allowed. Um, but when it comes to the actual request of the reviews, which I think that's where your question is more going towards to, I think you are referring to how to automate the request of the reviews that Amazon allows you as an option for each single order. So you have two options. The number one option is just doing it by yourself manually. If you go inside one of your orders each of your single orders in your Seller Central account, Amazon is going to allow you to basically automatically generate a template, and that template is going to be sent to the customers asking for a review. So usually that gives good conversions. It's just a generic email. I'm pretty sure you have even received that yourself as a shopper. It usually says asking for experience, what do you think about the product, and basically generate feedback about it. The second option, which is one that we also use for some of our brands, is that we use a Helium 10 integration, which is actually a software that we are in partnership with. And this software, what it does is that automatically integrates with your Amazon Seller Central account. And as you start, as a sale is generated, the software automatically send an email to your customers asking for a review. So why some people might want to use this? Well, if you have already a branding, like a language, a language basically type of communicating with your customer, like a specific tone or a specific way or keywords that you like to always mention to your audience to represent your brand, people like to customize these emails, and that's why usually these software tools are very helpful. But overall, if you want to keep it simple, you can just use the option that Amazon already provides you. You go inside each of the order and request a feedback to your audience. Usually we have seen that working very well in terms of conversions. Okay, good. We got another question here. What is your advice on pricing, listing management when you're going to run out of stock immediately? Okay. So usually what we do on these cases is that, I'm pretty sure you're gonna find online people have different theories. Some people prefer to not go out of stock. Some people prefer to go out of stock quickly. I think it really depends on how far your next inventory is from reaching Amazon, and based on that, we can usually advise you on what is the best thing to do. So, for example, if your inventory is gonna be reaching Amazon within 1-2 weeks time, there's really no concern of going out of stock, and in fact, we usually advise to go. Keep your campaigns as usual, your price as usual, and sometimes even be more aggressive to go out of stock aggressively, as you have here on some of the advices on our blogs as well. And we have actually seen that when you come back within 1-2 weeks, the ranking is still there, and sometimes it could be even better in some specific keywords. Now, if the inventory is gonna be out of stock for, let's say, 1 month or more, usually what we advise you to do is decrease the amount of advertisement you push to your product in terms of traffic, but at the same time don't decrease it too much. For example, if you're selling 10 units per day consistently, maybe you want to target to lower it down to 8 units, but not like 4 or 3, because then that is also going to affect your ranking, and that is going to give you an extra maybe 20-30% window in terms of breathing time to allow the next inventory to come in. If then it's going to be longer than 2-3 months, then most likely you're going to be needing to do a relaunch, which is something I actually going to be covering on future videos about how you usually do relaunch. But Yes, it's gonna strictly depend on how long the inventory is gonna be out of stock, because that is usually gonna be the number one factor that's gonna be taken in consideration in terms of the impact that it puts toward your organic ranking. Okay. Yeah. Actually, I forgot to also mention one thing: the pricing. So the pricing, try also to not decrease it or increase it too much, because sometimes people, if you if you increase the price too much to avoid the product going up, to selling too fast, you can end up losing your buy box. So if you're going to increase it, like maybe, let's say you're selling at $20, increase it to 22, 24, something like that. If you go from 20 to 30, 40, you might eventually lose your buy box, which then is sometimes difficult to fix, on a quick manner, right? And the same goes the other way. If you try to decrease the price too much, sometimes we have seen also an impact in the buy box. So always take that into consideration. Okay. Good. Let's see which are questions. Good. This one comes on how to check my ranking on a specific individual keyword. So this one, of course, usually you're gonna require a software tool for this, because there isn't really a way to do it manually. So the tool that we been using lately is Helium 10. Sometimes you also use our tool like SongGuru to verify your information. And these two tools, basically what allow you to do is basically keep track of your keywords. I think keeping track of your keywords is key. We have seen so many times clients that come to us and we start working with them, and then the first thing that we do is, can you give us a report of where are your keywords, and basically in terms of positioning and where you want the keywords to go. And a lot of them don't have a clue. I mean, they don't have a tracking system, and I think that's a big thing to consider, because if you don't have a track of where are you being positioning organically, that's going to affect you significantly when it comes to strategy, because you don't know which keywords you are lacking. If, for example, your sales drop, you don't know why the sales are dropping and why you need to fix. And in fact, when you're using a software like Helium 10 that has the keyword tracker, you're gonna see, okay, today my sales went down 30, 20%. Let's see my keyword tracker. Oh, okay, it happens because one of my main keywords, I went from page 1 to page 3. Or for example, I stopped indexing from my top 4 keywords, things like that. If you don't have a thing to track that, it's gonna be very difficult to then do troubleshooting when things start going wrong, which eventually they will, because Amazon, again, is a huge system, and sometimes things can happen that can affect your product, and it's good that you have a tool to refer to and then understand what can you do to fix it, right? Good. Great. We have a question from Manuel. Is there a way to stop Amazon for repackaging returns and sell them? Not refurbish, but the normal return. Yes, is a way to do that. Actually, if you go to your Amazon settings, there is I don't remember exactly how is the section called, but if you go to your settings and then the FBA setting, there is an option that asks you what you want to do with your returns, and one of the options is that the units, instead of being repacked and put again into your inventory pool, as soon as they're returned, they're sent back to you. So usually we always do this. It's a great question, because we have seen that a lot of times Amazon standards to this for deciding if a product quality is good or not is completely off from you as a brand owner one, right? We have seen sometimes packaging that the thing it can be resolved, but then you see the box all with tape or some plastic broken, which again is going to break the customer experience. So yeah, always go to settings. Again, I don't remember exactly where the section is called, because this is usually done by one of my team members, but send me an email to my website or social media, and I send you the guide of how to do it. It's very simple. Is you go to settings, and I know there is an option for FBA, and in there you can decide, okay, what do you want to do with this? You want it to be sent back to you, or be kept into your inventory pool. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, thank you for the question. Good. Let's see which other question we got here. Good. What do you recommend for the launch, for the relaunch strategy? Yeah, so this one usually goes back to the same topic we were actually discussing, which is the inventory issue, right? If you go out of stock, which happens a lot, especially now with everything that is happening in China and Asia in general and worldwide, with the freight companies and delays and all that, a lot of people is encountering this issue of going out of stock. So relaunch strategy is key because that's the only thing that you can do honestly to save your product. That usually when you come in stock again, you lose all your ranking, your positioning. It's almost like starting from zero. So the first thing that we do within the first weeks of relaunching, we go very aggressive with our PPC campaigns. So usually we go back in your history reports. Our teams usually does an analysis of what are the keywords and the campaigns that were performing the best, and we try to put the budget at least 3 times what we run the budget at. Again, these first 2 or 3 weeks that are we doing the relaunch strategy with the main campaigns and keywords that we want to fully focus on, is not, we're not expecting to be profitable here. We're expecting to bring as much traffic and to convert. And of course, the conversion here is very important, and that's it. That is why we got just aggressive on the keywords and campaigns that we have huge uncertainty. Huge certainty that's going to work. So this is of course taking the decisions taken by analyzing the metrics. So if you look at the metrics, and then you see that your conversion rate is high on specific keyword, your ACoS is low, your cost per click is decent, and you're being profitable for a long period of time. Most likely, if you double your budget, or even 3 times, sales are going to increase. And that, of course, is going to push your organic ranking, and it's going to get it back eventually to where we wanted to have it, right? Then, besides PPC, we usually combine this with a series of what we call external traffic, which is a bit of what I covered before. This is basically combining external resources such as influencer marketing, blogging, email marketing, and then we also try to do giveaways if we can to specific Facebook groups that, of course, not Facebook groups that are meant for reviews or things like that. Facebook groups that are actually relate to your niche. For example, we have supplements brands that we work with, and they are within Facebook groups that what they do is review supplements, right? In terms of the taste, what people think, and actually it's like a community of people exchanging thinking about different supplement brands, and they basically in exchange of giving a feedback, not within Amazon but more in a community-based feedback, they give these products away, and that also helps a lot to bring traffic and sales. So I think combining all this usually is a very solid relaunch strategy. And then of course it's gonna depend how long you went out of stock. So the longer you were out of stock, the more expensive it's gonna be, because you need to combine more resources, you need to combine more different traffic of sources of traffic, and eventually it's gonna. I mean, that's what is really gonna define how difficult is gonna be the relaunch strategy. Sometimes, if the relaunch strategy doesn't work, you were out of stock for a very long period of time, usually people even decide to launch a product as a new async. Again, this usually is only advisable to do if really the initial listing didn't have a lot of history, just a few reviews, because again, you're not going to do this with a listing that had hundreds of dozens of reviews. So again, it's a case by case study. But if you take the few things I mentioned, usually it should help you get your product in position where it used to be. Okay, good. Let's see. Okay, we got another question. Is 3K enough to launch a product? So I actually covered this on, I think, one of my videos. And as I mentioned before, the minimum budget I usually recommend nowadays to get started with is between 8 and 10,000. Sometimes people think that this is even low, which I agree in some specific categories. 10K is really nothing compared to the big players. And the reason why nowadays you need more money to enter this FBA Amazon business model is because so many private institutions and investors have entered the game. So you have big aggregators in the space, such as, for example, Tricio, Make Heroes, Elevate Brands, and so many other aggregators that they have millions and millions of dollars and they're buying multiple brands and they have deep pockets in terms of what they can put towards advertisement launch strategies. So that means that your barrier of entry is going to be bigger because now you need to allocate more budget toward things such as advertisement, external traffic, product design, differentiation, things like that. So I say nowadays the bare minimum again is around the 10K mark. This of course is going to depend on the category, but that is going to give you a more healthy margin to cover things such as, for example, uh, covering the PPC cost, your inventory cost, miscellaneous costs such as setting up your company, doing a trademark. Actually, trademark, it depends. If you're just getting started and you're not fully sure about the brand yet, you might wait until the second or third shipment just so you can at least make some revenue and then cover the expense. But initial expenses are going to be setting up your company, your inventory, your PPC costs, your launch strategy costs. So again, you want to have some breathing, and not just for those things I just mentioned. I mean, you need to consider that the game here is to have the muscle to be able to reorder products or stock in this case when you're running out of stock, because as I mentioned already, if you go out of stock, it's going to be more expensive to then do the relaunch strategy. So out of the 10K, usually you should be allocating already another 30-40%, in this case 3 to 4,000 as a deposit to put towards your second inventory, which as we all know, usually nowadays suppliers ask you for a 30%, sometimes 50%, but most of them they allow you to go by 30%. So you want to have some money in the bank to be covering that initial inventory. Otherwise, you're going to spend all your budget in your first inventory, your first PPC and launch strategy, and then you're not going to have enough money to order the second inventory. Because remember that Amazon pays you every 15 days. So if you don't have enough capital and cash flow, you're going to struggle then. Okay. Good. We have another question. Will Amazon be a problematic business model consider the supply chain issues we are seeing, or on the use base? Okay. I'm drinking some water. Yes, of course. As I mentioned before, the whole situation in Asia is getting complicated. Supply chains now with this situation happening in Ukraine, that's for sure gonna affect also the supply chain in some specific countries. Everything affects supply chain, and things are gonna get more competitive at times goes, especially with these things that are happening worldwide. So I think the next step and things that are really gonna make the difference on scaling your Amazon business even faster is to be able to find suppliers within your country, right? So we already are starting to work. For example, here in UK, we have some clients that they are doing very well already, because instead of going, let's say, to China, India, other countries for sourcing, what they're doing, they are sourcing directly from UK. Which, okay, sometimes the manufacturing cost and all that is going to be more expensive. We all know that, but they are already cutting all the issues of supply chain in terms of delays. They don't need to deal with big shipping delays. Now everything's kept within UK. Maybe pricing is higher, but at the same time, they can even use that for branding. We have seen some of the clients already mentioning proudly made in UK, for example, and this helps also to promote national production. So I think people that understand this and start to leverage national production instead of always looking overseas. I think it's gonna be a huge thing because if you're able to keep up with the cash flow and the stock much faster than most of your competitors, that's gonna be a huge win for you in the long term for sure. Yeah. Okay, I think we have let's see, one final question. What's the chance of suspensions and termination? Yeah. Yes, this is a big fear that I mean we get all the time for all the people involved in Amazon, even myself. I mean, we all know that Amazon. I mean, the number one nightmare of all Amazon sellers is waking up, seeing your phone or your email, and the first notification is that your account is being suspended or something like that. Yes, it's very concerning for sure. So usually, what we advise you to do is from day one, making sure all your documentation is on place, right? So, for example, when you open in an account, and this is something that sometimes people reach out to us to require request support. People get their account suspended for things that are easy to avoid. For example, they open the Amazon account and they put their personal information, their passport, and everything. But for example, their bank account address doesn't match the address of the business. That's a first red flag. Or the bank address doesn't match your personal living address. Another red flag. And there are other red flags that if you don't take in consideration, can easily suspend your account. So the number one thing to avoid these suspensions and terminations is to make sure you know Amazon rules inside out. And there are so many videos out there. Even myself, I'm gonna be making videos, and I'm gonna be bringing experts in the coming weeks around this subject about how to avoid suspensions and things like that. Is that as long as you keep educating yourself about this subject, it's gonna help you a lot in avoiding these mistakes. And the other thing is, of course, stay away from black hat tactics, things that are not really within Amazon rules, because at the end of the day, that's really what is gonna affect your business, and it's gonna make it more difficult for you to even sell in the future. Because aggregators nowadays and investors, the number one thing they like to see is a healthy account that didn't have issues in the past, so that you didn't board reviews or things like that. So keep everything clean, and I'm sure that you shouldn't be having any suspension and determination. It might happen, but I'm sure that if you're doing everything by the playbook, you should be back in no time. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we have another question. Do you think sales will decrease due to inflation issue? Have you seen any effects on this already? Yes, I mean, from the beginnings of my clients in the USA, they were concerned about this. We were doing some projections in sales, but to be honest, we haven't seen a direct impact yet. I mean, you need to remember that in USA is number one country in the world for consumption. I mean, people in USA get so easy access to credits, to cash. Uh, peop, I mean, anybody can get access to loans, so it's so easy for people to keep the spending habit. So I think it's not going to be a huge impact. It might be in the long term, but we haven't seen it. But I think just for the simple fact that USA is such a huge country, and as I mentioned before, the purchase power is much higher than other countries. If we see that effect, it might be more down the line, but at least right now we haven't seen it. But yeah, great question. It's actually a concern that a lot of our clients were having, and we were monitoring this from the beginning of January, just because we know this year is going to be quite challenging with everything is happening. But right now we haven't seen a huge impact in sales due to that. Yeah, good question. Good. Let's see if we have any other questions. No, I think that's everything for today, guys. Once again, thank you very much for showing up. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the comments, the likes, subscription, sharing. Everything is very useful. And all the questions you guys send me via email and on my team during the week to prepare for this session. So thank you for that. Remember that if you reach out to my team in my website, your first consultation is for free, so we're gonna analyze your business, we can see what we can do for you. We are usually very honest. If you are not the right fit for us, we usually just refer you to another person, or we just advise you what is the right step for you. And yes, that's it. Actually, just a last minute question came in. Let me just cover that very quickly, and then we go. So, new question says, Amazon's recently entered in Saudi Arabia. What is the opportunity and challenge in emerging markets? Yeah, for sure. We have some clients already trying to expand here. We think those markets are gonna be huge in the coming years. Dubai as well. Then you have marketplaces such as Japan, Turkey. I mean, there are so many new marketplaces coming up, and I think these emerging markets for sure is gonna be challenges, because when a new market is coming, you're going to have more barrier of entry in terms of understanding the logistics around that country, the legal implications, your limited company, things like that. But I always say to people that have the funding and has the vehicle to jump into these marketplaces, do it without hesitation, because you need to consider that these countries are baby steps compared to USA, and eventually it's going to catch up, because Amazon is going to eventually be in every single country, at least the main ones, and all the countries Amazon is jumping in is doing well. So it's just a matter of time until those countries become a habit for them to also shop on Amazon, and I think we are the first one there. Build your reviews, build your listings, then it's gonna be like the people that jump in USA 10 years ago. That was basically the old west, easy to get reviews, no competition, no saturation. So I say, if you can, for sure do it. We have seen some of our clients doing it, and they're already showing good results. So yeah, I would advise us. Okay. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Good. I think that's everything for today, guys. Remember, yeah, to subscribe, to follow me on social media. Feel free to drop me a message. I'm always available, or somebody from my team. Yes, see you on the next one. Okay, take care, guys, and have an amazing week. Bye bye.